as you saw, he's here. Morning, Nigel.
Good morning.
Just looking at your greatest hits there, even that moment in 1986, when you were on the verge of absolute glory, and what happened? Your tyre blew?
Very emotional, yeah. The tyre just exploded and tore the rear suspension and the brake line off. And the most amazing thing is you should get the rule book out when that happens, because if I would have crashed into the wall and stopped, obviously, they would have probably stopped the race, and then I would have been world champion instead of taking the results from the lap before.
You would have won.
Yeah, I would have won.
Oh, sorry to start. Do you know what? Normally in interviews we start. Yeah, exactly.
I feel so good.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to. I think everybody asks you about that all the time.
Well, it was. What was wonderful about that moment was that it was such an incredible moment of motorsport that everyone realised why we lost the world championship, and so I became the people's world champion. And even Alan, who won the world championship that year, said that I deserved to win it. So although I lost it, it was quite good anyway.
One of the fascinating things in the book, we were talking about risk earlier on in relation to rugby players and injury. You talk quite a lot about risk and how racing drivers deal with the notion of the risks, and they are extreme, obviously. And you drove in an era when many drivers did lose their lives. So how did you rationalise stepping into a car, knowing you have young children, you have family, and the risk you know you're taking?
Well, you draw a lot of strength on your own skill, and you say, well, look, how far are you going to put it out there today? You look in the mirror some mornings, and obviously some of the racetracks we used to race on, we had 200 plus mile an hour corners with no runoffs. And so if you actually went into the corner and you went in over the ability, you'd have an accident, and that accident could be fatal. So you become fatalistic. You realise that you have to draw a lot of strength on your ability, and you have to have a lot of faith in the car and the engineers and the mechanics, unlike you do today. But if they make a mistake at 200 miles a day on a lot of the circuits, they can drive back off the circuit and back on the circuit.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious on that theme. That sounds very calculated. Was there any of it that wasn't calculated? Was there ever a day when you thought, do you know what, I'm not feeling lucky? I'm feeling like something,
There's a few things in the books where we call it the heebie-jeebies, where you actually realise that this is not a good day. And then, having the constant fight with the brain and the right foot, keeping the foot down to try and go around the corner quicker. But then the brain, you have self-preservation. Everyone has self-preservation, and pulling that foot off. You have to be calculating that.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about the book is you describe in great detail the kind of the claustrophobia of being a driver. And actually, when you were driving, it was more of a physical thing, wasn't it? You actually you had to hang on.
Yeah. Well, I've got titanium anchor and a bolt in my left shoulder. All my tendons have been taken out my elbows, because going around the corners at 5G, we didn't have power steering. It was the physicality of the driver hanging onto the car and being sort of a little bit crazy, a little bit stupid at times, braver than you should have been. But as long as you stayed within the remit of your skill, you could get a car around the corner. But now with the power steering, it's a little bit easier to do that.
You describe very vividly, and I read the book in quite detail about your first experience in a Formula One car. So you're a very good driver, you're competing, and then there's suddenly a gear shift, if you like, of everything coming at you unbelievably fast, that you're taken completely by surprise at the speed of what's happening around you.
Yeah, I was terrified. The first time I drove a Formula One car, I just didn't have any time to change gear, go into the corner, brake and do anything. And then I slept on it, and the brain upsurges and speeds up, and we slow speed down. I mean, the fastest I've gone is 250 miles an hour at Indianapolis, but you slow 250 miles an hour down to something like 30, 40 miles an hour. So you can actually slow speed down, you slow time down. And that's what a great racing driver does. So when you're in rhythm, and everything's almost in slow motion. That's why you can pick faces out the crowd, and
as you're driving
fast at 200 miles
That's
an hour.
ridiculous. Can you do a quick list for us? Best racing driver ever?
I know Lewis Hamilton's broken my record here in England now, which is
don't
wonderful.
You? Yeah.
Lewis is fantastic. He's got the world at his feet. He's having a blast and is exploring life.
But it's a different game, isn't it? It's completely
different game. I mean, the records are there. I mean, we used to get 6 or 9 points for a win. Now they get 25 points for a win. There's more races. I think the biggest single difference is that the reliability of a Formula One car now is just amazing. I mean, I must have been winning something like about 34 or maybe 36 races where the car broke down. It's very rare the car breaks down now.
I want to ask you a quick question. When your car broke down, this is what fascinates me about you. Could you have fixed it yourself sometimes?
With a big hammer, maybe.
Yes. But you
Not
came
really.
through a different way to the way drivers come through now, don't you? You came through with a level of knowledge that not many drivers have now.
Yeah, people don't understand that I actually qualified as an engineer with Lucas Aerospace, and I'm very proud to have a fellowship and a grand fellowship in engineering. And so, we had an indoctrination. My father was an engineer and helped me enormously with Colin Chapman.
I tell you what, I can't be the only person thinking, you don't appear to have changed a bit.
I want to be Lewis's teammate next year. Please. I'm only 28, honestly.
It's lovely to see you.
Very quickly, I know we're out of time. Is it time for more women in Formula One?
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely. I think it'd be absolutely sensational. No reason why they can't be there at all now.
It's a fascinating book, and thank you very much.
We could keep talking an awful lot longer, couldn't we?
Keep bouncing back, that's the thing.
Oh, that's good advice.
Nigel's book is called Staying on Track. Remind you can watch the Russian Grand Prix, of course, live on BBC TV Radio on the sport website. That starts next week.